When Army veteran Luke Harper arrived at the mountain cabin his grandmother left him, he expected dusty furniture, creaking floors, maybe a few family memories buried in old boxes. But the moment he stepped inside, his canine dog, Ranger, froze. The trained military K9 didn't bark, didn't move. He growled, deep and shaking, as if he sensed something no human could. His ears shot up, his tail stiffened, a low warning rumble vibrating through his chest. Ranger never reacted without reason. Ranger never growled like that. Never. Ranger, what is it? Luke shouted. Luke swept his flashlight across the living room. Nothing. But Ranger wasn't looking at the room. He was staring at the floorboards. Suddenly, he lunged, pawing hard at the wooden planks until one loose board snapped free, revealing a dark hole beneath the cabin. A hidden room. A smell Luke recognized instantly, and something inside that would shake the entire town to its core. The cabin wasn't empty. It was hiding a secret someone never wanted found. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The mountain road twisted upward like a scar carved into stone, leading Army veteran Luke Harper to the place he hadn't seen since childhood, his grandmother's cabin. The wind howled through the pines, carrying memories of summers spent chasing fireflies and warm cocoa by the fireplace. But now the cabin stood silent, weathered, as if it had been holding its breath for years. Luke stepped out of his truck, Ranger at his side. The loyal K9 scanned the surroundings, ears high, body alert. Something in the air made him uneasy. Easy, boy, Luke murmured, though the dread curling in his gut mirrored Ranger's tension. The cabin door creaked open with a gentle push. Inside, the air was cold and still. Dust coated everything, yet the fireplace held faint traces of soot. Fresh, recently used. A mug sat on the table, not covered in dust like the rest. A window was cracked open from the inside, letting in a sharp mountain breeze. Ranger sniffed the floor, following a trail of footprints too small to be Luke's. Anyone here? Luke called out. No answer. Only silence. Then Ranger froze. Head low, tail stiff, a deep growl rumbling through his chest. He wasn't staring at the room. He was staring at the floorboards beneath Luke's feet. Ranger's growl deepened, vibrating through the wooden floor. Luke knelt beside him, running a hand gently along the boards. One plank, right beneath Ranger's paw, was slightly raised. Its edge splintered, as if someone had pried at it before. Good catch, buddy, Luke whispered, using his combat knife. Luke wedged the blade under the board and pushed upward. The plank popped free with a sharp crack, sending dust swirling into the dim cabin light. Ranger lowered his head and sniffed the opening intensely. Beneath the floor was darkness. Not empty space, a staircase. The air drifting up felt colder, older, almost untouched. Luke grabbed his flashlight and slowly descended, Ranger pressing tightly against his leg. The staircase led to a cramped underground room, walls lined with shelves stuffed with boxes, journals, and maps. Everything smelled aged, except for the set of footprints in the dust, fresh, crisp, leading toward the back of the room. Grandma, what were you hiding down here? Luke murmured. Ranger moved toward the far wall and began pawing at something metallic buried behind a stack of crates. Luke brushed debris aside until a small iron lockbox appeared, dented but intact. Beside it, carved unevenly into the wall, were trembling words, "Keep them safe." Luke's breath hitched. His grandmother wrote that. Recently. A sudden creak echoed from upstairs, heavy footsteps crossing the cabin floor. Luke snapped off the flashlight. Someone else was inside the cabin. Luke's pulse hammered in his ears as the footsteps creaked above. Ranger stood rigid, ears pointed, staring toward the stairs with the focus of a trained soldier. Whoever was inside wasn't trying to be quiet. They were searching. Luke moved silently back up the steps, Ranger glued to his side. When he reached the living room, he saw the front door slightly open, snow drifting in. A shadow moved across the floor. "Show yourself," Luke commanded, voice steady but sharp. The figure froze. Slowly, a woman stepped into view. Mid-20s, pale, shivering, a cut along her cheek. Her clothes were torn, boots soaked from the snow. She raised trembling hands. "Please, don't shoot," she whispered, Ranger didn't attack. In fact, he stepped in front of her, tail stiff, guarding her instead of Luke. Luke stared, stunned. "Why is my dog protecting you?" The woman swallowed hard. "Because he remembers me." Luke's confusion deepened. "What does that mean?" She looked toward the floor, voice cracking. "Your grandmother. She saved me once. She told me to come here if I was ever in danger again." Luke felt the air leave his lungs. "She said you'd protect me." The woman continued. "She said you were the only one who could finish what she started." Ranger nudged her gently, as if confirming her words. The woman's eyes filled with fear. "They're coming after me. The men in the mountains. The ones your grandmother was investigating." Luke's heart slammed against his ribs. "Investigating? For what?" The woman pointed toward the hidden staircase. "What your dog found. That's why they killed her." Before Luke could respond, Ranger's growl thundered through the cabin. Someone was approaching the window, armed. And close to Ranger's growl deepened into a vibrating warning that shook Luke to his core. Snowflakes drifted past the window, but the shape moving outside wasn't wind. It was a man. Heavy boots, rifle slung over his shoulder. He scanned the cabin like he already knew someone was inside. Luke pulled the woman back toward the hidden staircase. "Down. Now." They slipped into the underground room just as the cabin door creaked open. Heavy footsteps stomped through the living room. The intruder wasn't searching. He was hunting. The woman hugged herself, shaking. "I told you, they're everywhere on this mountain. Illegal miners. Armed, ruthless. Your grandmother tried to expose them. She hid people who escaped. Like me." Luke scanned the shelves, finding binders filled with photos of mining sites, maps of tunnels carved deep into restricted land, and documents showing explosives, stolen equipment, and payoffs to keep everything quiet. "My grandmother was building a case," Luke whispered, "and they killed her for it." The woman replied, suddenly. Ranger stiffened and pushed his nose toward the back corner. Luke followed and froze. Wires, small devices attached to support beams, and the unmistakable smell of C4. "They planted explosives," Luke breathed. "They want to erase this place." Above them, the intruder's radio crackled, setting charges on the north side. "Blow it in 60 seconds." Luke grabbed the old military radio his grandmother hid in a toolbox and switched to emergency frequencies. SOS from Black Ridge Cabin. Armed suspects. Explosives detected. Ranger barked sharply. The first explosion detonated, rocking the cabin. "Go," Luke shouted, pushing them toward the hidden tunnel. The cabin was collapsing. Their only way out was into the mountain. The tunnel spat them out into the freezing night air halfway down the mountain. Behind them, the cabin burned in collapsing waves, flames rising like a beacon in the storm. The woman stumbled in the snow, but Ranger stayed glued to her side, nudging her forward, urging her not to stop. Luke scanned the tree line. Dark shapes moved between the pines. "They're flanking us," he muttered. Gunshots cracked behind them, spraying bark from nearby trees. Luke grabbed the woman's arm and pulled her toward an old ridge path he remembered from childhood. Raven Pass, a narrow cliffside trail where only one person could walk at a time. "This way. They can't surround us here." Ranger sprinted ahead, barking sharply as the attackers closed in. The woman gasped, clinging to Luke as the path narrowed to a sheer drop on one side. Another shot rang out, too close. Ranger suddenly darted into the trees, drawing the gunman's attention. His military training kicked in, zigzagging, weaving, forcing them to chase him. "He's giving us a chance," Luke said, breath tight with fear. They reached the open ledge just as the men emerged from the woods. Weapons raised, but flashing red and blue lights cut through the storm. Backup had arrived. Federal agents poured in, surrounding the gunmen from every angle. The mountain fight was over. Snow fell quietly over the ridge as the last of the gunmen were handcuffed and escorted down the mountain. Luke stood with the woman wrapped in his coat, her breath shaky but steady at last. Then Ranger emerged from the trees, limping slightly, fur dusted with snow, but alive. The dog pressed his head into Luke's chest, and Luke dropped to his knees, hugging him fiercely. "You saved us," Luke whispered. Just like always, federal agents sifted through the recovered evidence. One detective approached Luke with a sealed envelope. "This was found in the lockbox beneath your cabin," he said. "Addressed to you. From your grandmother." Luke opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a handwritten letter. If you're reading this, it means the mountain has chosen its next protector. I couldn't finish what I started, but you can. Trust Ranger. He always knew. Tears blurred Luke's vision. The woman looked at him gently. Your grandmother saved me. And tonight, you did too. Let me stay? Let me start over. Luke nodded softly. This mountain needs people worth protecting. Ranger sat between them, tail thumping, eyes watchful over the valley below. In that moment, the three of them understood the cabin wasn't an inheritance. It was a mission, a legacy they would protect together.